So I want to thank you for giving us a little peek into what Mrs. Facey's classroom looks like and how you are intentional about reaching your students. So some of the resources she mentioned, you mentioned were, word wall cards, anchor charts, CRA, and having to look things up to make sure you're able to represent things concretely for students that may need that, and about making sure your questions that you're asking promote discourse. And other resources are going to be in just so our listeners know, will be in the written portion of this link line. So scroll down to the bottom of that and you'll see resources. And so any area, I'm challenging anyone listening to this to choose one of these three areas: math discourse, multiple representations, or how to create an environment in my classroom where errors are viewed as learning opportunities. And your next unit, just be intentional about using one of those strategies with each lesson that you teach, creating an environment or an opportunity each lesson to have some conversation about the math, or making sure that each lesson you are representing the math in more than one way for all of your students, or looking at that lesson for each lesson for that unit and saying, okay, what errors can I anticipate my students making, and what error analysis am I going to do for each lesson? So there are going to be resources there to support you in doing that. But the last thing I do want to just dip our toe in is what support would you recommend from administrators? So we talked about how teachers can make their classrooms equitable in their instruction and with the learning. But we all know in education, there's always administrative support that's needed to do anything in our classrooms. So what would be supports or ideas that you would like administrators to hear?
Some things I would love for administrators to hear as best they can possibly see, how to plan and make the time for it and make it happen. I mean, it's possible. I want them to keep an open mind, but to protect common planning. That's if they can create common planning. You have to be creative sometimes with that scheduling piece, but if they can be creative and figure out how to make sure common planning happens, it's very important to protect that time, as well as providing guidance for what common planning looks like, actually providing like a schedule, whether they are lesson planning together, what happens at the very beginning of it. Are we going to take the test and then come to the common planning time and discuss the test, discuss our misconceptions, discuss the key points, or highlight the key points that we need to make sure every single teacher is honing in or really communicating and getting through on the lesson. The teachers have an opportunity to share different strategies with each other, different activities with each other, because everybody needs that teaching toolbox if we're talking about being equitable and reaching every student. Mm-hmm. As well as for all new teachers don't come in already knowing the subject matter. Mm-hmm. But if you put them on a team where they also can feel comfortable picking up the content, even if they're picking it up from the general ed teacher, it makes them feel more confident within the lesson to be able to communicate and help the students, as well as pick up the information, ask the teacher questions, ask the teacher, well, I have no idea how you solve this problem. I'm not saying that it has to become a whole teaching lesson for the special education teacher. But again, if they're doing some pre-planning time and they're doing some homework on their own and they still have questions, then you might need that time to communicate that information. And then also during common planning time, that also give the special education teacher time to discuss specific learning needs for different students in that class. You already may know that Susie over here, she's going to struggle with this concept. So what kind of concrete things can I put in place for her to be able to get it maybe in the resource room so that she can get the representation on the abstract piece by the time she actually gets in that classroom? Or it may be a really difficult concept and the teacher has no idea. The general ed teacher has no idea how to communicate that for students who may be at a lower level and not ready to tackle what that actual SOL strand may be or topic skill may be. So it's really helpful and beneficial for both teachers, a mutual relationship that can happen in the co-planning environment. Another thing that I think, which I would love to see happen, if administrators or divisions could figure out somehow to provide, especially during the pre-service week or new teacher week per se, what I would call it like curriculum content learning opportunities, where a new teacher slash, whether it's general ed teachers and new special education teachers can come in. They already would know basically what areas they will be collaborating with or what areas they need to support. So let's just say that you're going to be supporting grade 8 math or algebra 1. And you will go over the big picture concepts for the first maybe 3 to 4 units for that first marking period, or, for prior supporting period. So that way everybody has an opportunity to kind of see what skills will be taught, what we want the student to learn or gain by the time we finish that unit, what's the biggest misconceptions or areas of struggle, and what's some of the teaching strategies that I can use to get through those first 3 to 4 units. So it could be from discussing the vocabulary to, like, let's say we're talking about algebra 1 and we going from talking about the properties all the way to inequalities. So unit 1 could be the properties, unit 2 may be expressions, to equations, to inequalities. And the teachers may need to know some of those big topic skills that they're going to be hit with before waiting to the first week of school. So it does require some pre-planning on administrative's part, but I think it will be a bigger bang for their buck if they want to see the special ed teacher taking a more co-teaching role in the classroom over the special education teacher being the student in the classroom with the students.
That's a very good point, because it's similar to, it made me think of your approach to the resource class, which is pre-teaching versus remediation. And I think the same view could be seen, because before we get to the concept, and me as the special educator in the room coming in and not feeling comfortable with the topic, and I'm trying to learn along with the students asking me questions, I think it would definitely build more confidence and give teachers more time to come up with activities and strategies and things that would support the students if they are able to gain a comfortable place with that topic as well. So thank you for sharing that too. These are some really good ideas that you're putting out here. So I'm hoping that all of our listeners are taking note and they will check out the resources that we have at the end to gain some insight there. And administrators, there's an administrative corner that goes along with this product as well that may go deeper into some ideas that will be helpful for you to support special educators in the math classroom, so that we have a more equitable learning environment in our math classes and start to close some of the unfinished learning and some of these gaps that we're seeing in our classes. So Mrs. Facey, I want to thank you for your time here today and sharing again, what is going on in your classroom. And I wish you much success for the remainder of the school year.
Thank you again, Cammie, and thank you for this platform, this opportunity to share. Like I said, I do have an extensive experience with all different types of learners. I love to be a resource to others. I love to communicate, and I love to get ideas and strategies from others. So being that I know what I love, I'm hoping that a lot of other educators out there love it as well. And let's embrace the opportunity to always reflect and revise, and always think of it as starting a new day. So thank you once again, and I have enjoyed it.
Thank you.